Good morning, everyone. We've got quite a large amount of attendees joining us today, so we'll give everyone a couple of minutes to join. In the meantime, I'd just like to welcome you to the 9th in our series of Marine Tech webinars. My name is Chelsea. I work for the Oceansgate project for Plymouth City Council, and I'll be your host for this event. During this webinar, you will only hear myself and our presenters speak. We will not be able to see or hear any delegates. After the presentation, we will be holding a Q&A session. Please use the Q&A chat bar to ask any questions throughout the presentation. If you see any questions that you would also be interested in hearing the answer to, give it a like and this will send it to the top of the pile. This webinar is being recorded with the intention to be available to others on demand. Enjoy, and I will now hand you over to Mark Ray, Knowledge Transfer Manager for Building and Infrastructure, and Matthew Moss, who is the Knowledge Transfer Manager for Maritime.
Okay, thank you, Chelsea, and welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today. It's great to be able to present in my home city. So the Ocean City is also my home. So it's great to be able to do a presentation here for a change, albeit online. So today's seminar then, we'll be talking, Matthew and I will be talking about driving innovation in the marine sector. Let me just advance the slides on. So you'll be hearing from me. My name is Mark Ray, and as Chelsea advised, I'm the Knowledge Transfer Manager for Buildings and Infrastructure, and I'm part of the Clean Energy and Infrastructure team. And I'm joined by my colleague.
Hi everyone, I'm Matthew Moss. I'm the Knowledge Transfer for Maritime sector. I sit within the transport team at the KTN.
And Matthew and I work together closely because obviously there's a fair bit of overlap between infrastructure and transport systems, so we're all part of the applications team within the KTN. So, for those of you who don't know about who the KTN is, we're not the Kenyan Television Network. We are the Knowledge Transfer Network, and we're here to create diverse connections and driving forward positive change. We bring together people who have ideas, people who can bring funding or expertise, and we build up those into communities to drive that innovation along and bring about societal change and business change. We connect those innovators with new partners, new opportunities beyond their existing networks, and help accelerate the time it takes for ambitious ideas to turn into real-world solutions. We do this as part of a family, sometimes a dysfunctional family, but a family nonetheless, because we're all pulling in the same direction. So many of our policies are driven by the Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy, but we also work closely with lots of the other government departments, particularly, obviously in this case, the Department for Transport, but we work across the entire Whitehall collective. We work alongside the UK Research and Innovation organisation, which is what was the former Research Councils and Research England, and they help drive, and their primary function is to drive forward strategy based on government policy. And then we work with a variety of funding agencies, a predominant funding agency at this moment in time being UKRI and Innovate UK. But we're here to drive the connection part, so we sit very much on the connect and the helping find collaborators, and we do that in conjunction with the catapult centres, for example. So the sort of activity we do is around that connecting function, that funding, influencing, supporting, and navigating. So in connecting, we help you find valuable partners who can add value to your project, bringing expertise, building consortiums, and extending your supply chain knowledge. So you've got all the access to experts who can then help you in delivering and bringing through your new projects. We help you articulate where your challenges are and finding where those creative solutions might exist already, or where we need to create those and find the people who can create those solutions. On the funding stream, we look at, obviously we do a lot in terms of promotion of funding opportunities. So we help you raise your awareness, disseminate where those lines are in terms of whether it's public funding or whether it's coming from private finance. We can also help you in terms of providing you with advice to help scope out your project and develop your idea and bring it from its concept through to a more rigorous stage ready for feasibility and checking sort of proof of concept and proof of market. We can help provide you with advice and mentoring to help you developing your proposals. Submitting applications can be quite an arduous task, and certainly if you're going to do it for the first time, it looks quite daunting when you're faced with what looks like a giant set of exam questions. And some of them are quite challenging, and they do challenge the way perhaps your everyday thinking through your business work. And we can also help you then follow up with your project as well and support you if there's any further needs and further activity needed after you've delivered your initial R&D project. We do a lot of work in the influencing sphere. We work with lots of different sectors. We currently work across 17 different sectors. And we have a very deep understanding, therefore, of what different industries are doing, what their needs are. And we use this to help inform policymakers and strategy formers. We also provide market analysis and influence and landscape maps, etc., through our website and through our insights team. So we can help you identify where there are future market opportunities or where your market is going. We can also help you with your business planning through a variety of tools, be that through identifying new services or new products that you wish to launch, also looking at how your current business operations and how you can look to scale your current activity. We also do a lot of, because of the number of events that we host, we often use success stories and profile raising, so teams and projects that we've worked with and funds. We often do a lot of follow-up and dissemination activity, looking at what the impact was of those investments. And then it's the navigating part as well. The innovation support landscape is hellishly complicated, and it is very often, when you're looking at it for the first time, it's very daunting to know who do you turn to, where is funding, where is support, where are people who I could collaborate with. So we help you go through that, through those stages, through finding those people to work with. And we engage with a wide range of stakeholders and pull together lots of different resources and activity and information that's freely available on our website and through our sector experts. And there are 107 of us at the last count, people just like Matt and I. So in numbers, just to give a bit of a feel for sort of the size of the organisation that we represent. So we run a series of networks, and we're currently engaged with just over 37,000 organisations that are on our database and people that we actively engage with. And that represents around about 130,000, 131,000 people. We have quite an extensive following online, as more and more things, of course, have moved online and in digital. And in 2018, which was the last set of figures, full set of figures we had over 400,000 unique visits to our website, and some 71,000 or approaching 71,000 followers on Twitter. We run a whole host of what were called special interest groups. They're now called innovation networks, and I'll talk about one that I'm running specifically for the maritime sector in just a second. And as I said, we have a large number of sector experts working across all sorts of different things, from advanced chemistry to aviation fuels. So all sorts of weird, wonderful sectors and up and coming and emerging areas. From all of this, we run around about 400 events per year, and these are obviously pre-pandemic activity. These were physical events. Of course, a lot of this now has moved online, and we're still running about the same number of events and activities online. And we see typically about 30,000 delegates a year go through. In terms of what impact does this have, then from this, we've recorded around about 6,000 business-to-business or business-to-academia introductions, of which 2,889 of those went on to do something more. And they formed 415 collaborations and generated around about £14 of investment return for the pound that was spent on our activity, bringing them together. So, let that move forward. There we go. So that's just a brief introduction about who we are within the KTM. And I wanted to talk specifically about an innovation network that we're about to launch. I have an innovation network that I'm delivering along with support from Matthew and some of his colleagues, we're working on this network, which is looking at the grand challenge of how to decarbonise ports and harbours. This officially started in April, although we've, with various interruptions, we are not actually formally launching this until next week. But this will run for around about 18 months. Its aim, quite simply, the Ronseal test is fairly straightforward, is to reduce emissions arising from port activities which lead to global climate change and localised poor air quality. So we're looking to bring across a series of cross-sector activity and build a community with one common goal, to map out how we intend, what we need to do to drive down emissions within ports and harbours, and to develop an investment plan which can then lead to a co-investment between government and private sector in terms of driving the R&D activity and the innovation activity we need to bring forward new solutions to meet this grand challenge. The scope of which will include road vehicles, so vehicles coming, lorries and vehicles coming into the ports and harbours, the non-road machinery that's moving around inside the harbours, so the forklift trucks and conveyors, etc. Train and rail freight entering the port, and then the port buildings themselves, the harbour vessels, the equipment that's active within the buildings. We're not looking to influence or direct how road and rail is to decarbonise, but we're looking to understand in detail how they are intended to decarbonise, and therefore what their energy demands and emissions profile is going to look like within ports and harbours when visiting there. As I say, we're looking to build a community, and to help us do this and to help us scope out the work, we've assembled so far an advisory group, and that consists of challenge owners, solution providers and influencers. So in the challenge owners, we have a series of port owners, including the Royal Navy. Is one of the founding organisations that asked us to put together this network. We've also got a number of solution providers from some of the big household names, and then also including representatives from other solution providers and solution provider networks such as the UK Defence Solutions Centre and Maritime UK. We also have a series of influencers as well, which also includes government policymakers and also those trade bodies and organisations that represent them. As I said, this is a precursor or a pre-event to the formal launch event. So we'll be formally launching this innovation network on the 13th of October, so that's next Tuesday. And it'll be part of the Maritime UK week. So we're doing an event which is hosted by them, and we'll be putting it through their programme of activity. We've also launched our webpage, and that has a sign-up section in it, so that if you want to sign up to the newsletter that will come with that, then you can hopefully keep up to date with all the activity that we're going to be doing over the next 18 months and how you might contribute towards that. But in a nutshell, and just to cover that off, we will have a series of working groups which will be looking to gather information and identify activity which is already going on, and bringing that together so we can harness the information and outputs that come from that activity, as well as doing some of our own. So we have a series of working groups, one looking at landscape mapping, so looking at all the policy activity that's out there, all the companies and organisations which are active in this space, and where all the major challenges sit. So where are these ports and what is physically at them. Also have a working group looking then at air quality and gathering data and information about what the air quality is like at our ports and harbours and where the challenges are. And then we'll also go on to then look at different energy sources and regulations and how these impact and affect what we want to achieve in terms of decarbonising. We'll then be hosting, and these are most likely now going to be into the next calendar year, and possibly either will be online or could be physical events if we have permission to undertake them as physical events. But we'll have a series of workshops where we'll bring together those experts that we've engaged with so far, those people that we're aware of, so we can start to look at, have we got the landscape right? Does the landscape, is it representative of all the good activity we're doing and all the capability we have in the UK? We'll be doing workshops around what the technical solutions look like. What sort of solutions are we going to need to bring forward to address the challenges that we have? And then ultimately to develop an investment proposal and outline what it is we intend to do, who we intend to do it with, and what funding and support we need. We'll also be running a series of innovation exchange processes, and Matthew will be talking about that shortly as part of his presentation. And we've got a couple of those already lined up. So these are specific challenges that belong to an individual, and they're looking for solutions, technology solutions, the here and now. And Matthew will talk more about that in his part. Also, as part of this innovation network, working with the Department for Transport on the Smart Ports Initiative, which is being led by our family member, the Connected Places Catapult. So we're working with them, identifying again what activity is going on at the moment, what activity needs to be led, and that piece of work is ongoing, and the first report is due to come out just before Christmas. And then, of course, we're also engaging then with the Department of Transport and BAYS on the comprehensive spending review and the opportunities that will arise from there and the submissions that have gone in. And again, Matthew will talk more about that in his presentation. So if you want to be involved with this innovation network, want to find out more, then please do visit the website, sign up to the newsletter, and we'll be delighted to hear from you. And of course, you can approach us direct if there's specific things that you would like to be involved with or have interesting information about. I think that's it for me. So it's now over to you, Matthew. I'll go on mute and over to you.
Thank you very much, Mark. So welcome everyone. My name is Matthew Moss and I'm the Knowledge Transfer Manager for the maritime sector. So within my remit, I'm mainly looking at the movement of passengers and goods in and out of the country on the water, but I also touch upon, let's say, the marine side, where we're looking at more of the leisure side of the maritime industry, such as your small boats and yachts, and also a little bit on the underwater exploration, your seabed mapping, your marine robotics for maybe aquaculture, etc. That all broadly comes in to what I cover here at the KTN. So Mark, if you could advance to the next slide, please. And there's a little bit of delay as I wait for it to see. So as Mark mentioned, the spending review has gone ahead. It looks like we weren't sure whether it is going to happen or not, but the maritime sector did bid in led by the DFT for £1 billion into the spending review to try and get some money to drive innovation in this sector. So some of you who may have tried to apply for R&D funding in the past may have seen that there's not a lot out there for the maritime sector. It doesn't scream, I'm a maritime sector funding opportunity for you. But this bid into the spending review represents, maybe in a year's time, a great opportunity to get some of that funding. But don't despair. A little bit later on in my presentation, I'm going to show you some alternative routes that you may want to consider. So when we consider the maritime sector, what are the current opportunities at the moment? Where is the innovation happening? And what technologies might we need to help drive the sector forward? So the first sort of segment, if you like, and this forms a large part of the spending review, the ask was the need to decarbonise the industry. So as you know, the UK is committed to achieving net zero, and the shipping industry through the IMO have committed to reducing their GHG emissions by 50%. So what sort of technologies might we need in order to decarbonise the sector? So for the smaller crafts, electrification does seem a viable option, and there is innovation underway to start transforming some of those smaller craft from diesel or marine oil to electric propulsion. For the larger craft, I think electric is possibly not there yet with the battery technology for sort of long distance haulage. We're still going to be looking at a liquid biofuel, but what that fuel might be, whether it's hydrogen, bio-LNG, ammonia, they've all been put out there as potential alternative solutions, but there is no clear winner at this stage. In the UK, there is little bits of research going on around each of them, but there's no clear leader, and the government is not yet willing to back perhaps they're leading the horse in that race. When we sort of talk about the clean air, sort of the port side of things, I think it's quite well known in heavy port towns, or cities, I should say, like Portsmouth and Southampton. The air quality is particularly bad, and a lot of that is attributed to ships in port just leaving their engines on and burning away their dirty diesel, if you like, while they're not sailing. But shorter ship power, so this kind of electrification while they're in port, is a potential solution there to help alleviate those air emission qualities and also decarbonize the whole sector. So the second area or theme is the concept of smart shipping, and this is also been put as a, let's say, a headline proposition in the recent spending review bid. And when I say smart shipping, we're talking about the use of essentially more data to improve the logistics, improve navigation. It can even help reduce CO2 emissions with clever satellite technology to try and optimize your routes. And we're looking at new technologies such as the increased deployment of 5G, so the ability to handle and process more data, and also introducing autonomy into this. So in the future, we may see completely pilotless ships moving in and out of port, or maybe even just the sort of the tug, the worker vessels within the port could be operated autonomously. The third theme, and this was not a main focus of the spending review bid, is security. And when I talk about security, I'm not just talking about perhaps cybersecurity attacks, which is obviously very important for defence associations, but we're also talking about border control, especially with Brexit on the horizon. We're going to need to have stricter borders as we're no longer sort of bound to the EU anymore. And I'm sure you've all read in the recent news about the increased sort of channel crossings of migrants. The MCA is sort of heavily patrolling this area, but we are going to need to look at new technologies to help sort of fortify those borders. Also, security from an environmental point of view, sort of natural disasters. I think everyone is very well aware of climate change, and although the UK is safe for now, but the increased risk of kind of flooding, cliff erosion, this is all things that we need to start doing now to protect that going forward. So I've sort of bundled that under the security category. And also final theme here is underwater. So seabed mapping. The UK seabeds are really well mapped, but as we move a little bit further away from our water, going into the deeper territory, we need new technology that can able to survive under that depth and still be able to communicate the data back up to the surface. It's also for surveillance, sort of submarines that can go really deep into, well, not enemy territory, but to, let's say, monitor the presence of other nations around the world. That's quite a theme in defence. And also, as I mentioned a little bit before, sort of the aquatic life monitoring, sort of environmental preservation, the marine biology. Those are all opportunity areas to innovate within the maritime sector. Next slide, please, Mark. As he waits for the slide to change, just Mark's, I know, is suffering from quite slow internet over there, so I'm just waiting for the slide to change in front of me. Apologies for the delay, everyone. Is there a problem, Mark? Is it easy if I take over control? Because I'm not seeing this slide change from my side.
No, it has moved. It moved straight away on mine, but perhaps it's taken a while to get through.
Yeah, I'm not seeing the slide change, so I'm going to quickly in the background try and load up the presentation on my side and take over control from you, if that's all right.
Yeah, sure. No problem. I shall stop sharing then in that case.
Yeah, I'll just load it up now. Pop back onto Teams. Apologies everyone for the delay.
Apologies everyone. Although I do live in the Ocean City, I live on the outskirts of the Ocean City, and broadband only just gets as far as where I'm based.
I'm lucky enough to live in the not so coastal area of Birmingham, and my internet is quite good. So hopefully everyone is able to now re-see my slides. Can you confirm that, Chelsea or Mark?
Yeah, all good.
Excellent. So onto the juicy stuff is how can I help you, or how can the KTN help you? So there's three sort of common approaches that people tend to come to when they're talking to me about maybe they have an idea. So the first one is, I have an idea and I'd like to do something with it. Maybe I'm not particularly sure on what that idea is going. How can you help me to sort of define it a little bit better and perhaps seek some funding for it? Other people might have a little bit more of an idea. They've identified a particular funding call and they say, I want to apply this for this funding call. Could I have a little bit of help, Matt? Or finally, they might come to me and say, I need some funding. I want to do X, Y, and Z. Which funding call would be the most appropriate for me to apply into? And those are all areas that I can help with. And then if I just advance that, and some companies just simply come to me and say, help. And of course, I try and help them in the best way possible. So what can I and what can the KTN do? Mark went over this in a great amount of detail earlier, so I'll probably skip through this one a little bit. So we can help find the best funding framework that's suitable for you and your idea after an initial conversation. We can guide you right through from the application process, from the moment that you initially get in contact with us until you hit that submit button on your application. We can help you find sort of project partners, identify sort of capability gaps in your project consortium and find the right person to help you make the strongest application possible. And we can provide unbiased advice along the course of that application process. What we can't do, and sometimes people come to me and ask these specific things, but just to be black and white about it, we can't write the application for you or give you exact specifics of what to include and not to include, but we can give you general hints and tips. We can't guarantee successful proposals, but at the KTN, there is some metrics that indicate if you do contact the KTN and kind of get their advice along the process, you are more likely to succeed, but there's obviously no guarantee there. We can't generate sales leads, which some people get a little bit confused over. They do come to us and say, can you introduce us to company X because I want to essentially sell them my product. That's not what we do. We're here to promote innovation, and we want to not just enable you to sell the product, but we do want to create value for the UK economy, but we don't want to, as an independent kind of unbiased organisation, we don't want to be seen as favourable towards any company or another. And I guess that also sort of leaks into that we don't promote or market products, but we do a lot of help and support for businesses and academia, and we do all of this free of charge, which is great. So I mentioned before some current funding opportunities. Now, not everything screams maritime sector, but here are some that are definitely for the marine and maritime sector, and these slides will be circulated afterwards, and I encourage you to check on the links for more details. But the first one is green airports and ports as hubs for sustainable and smart mobility. This is part of the EU Green Deal funding, a very large funding pot. They're looking to put, I think it's 25 million euros towards this funding call, and UK companies are eligible. You might be seen as a little bit unfavourable if a UK company was to lead a proposal, but there's certainly nothing legally stopping you doing so. And the aim of this proposal, this funding call, is to, again, decarbonise ports and also integrate with sort of local transport connections, but the emphasis on sustainability and green technology. The second one is also a Horizon 2020 call, and this is integrated solutions to enhance maritime situational awareness. So this is in the theme of autonomy. So it's trying to create a digital platform for maritime autonomy, and essentially it's looking to increase the awareness around situational avoidance using 5G to make sure these autonomous vessels aren't banging into each other. So that's another opportunity there. If you click on the link, it'll take you through to the EU funding portal. Another call as part of the EU Green Deal, which is more on the marine side of things, is transparent and accessible seas and oceans towards a digital twin of the ocean, and that is pretty much what it says on the tin, is looking to create a digital twin of the ocean, looking at the different ecosystems within there and trying to essentially model them. A digital twin, for those who aren't familiar, it's like a simulation or a model, but where data feeds between the physical aspect and kind of the cyber aspect. autonomously, so there's no need for manual input there. So you've got sensors in the ocean that's feeding back to a computer that's logging data, and then the data is also feeding back into some sort of system in the ocean that can make changes sort of live, rather than you having to manually maybe dive down and make modifications to that oceanic system. Finally, there's the Admiralty Marine Innovation Programme. So this is a support package by the UK Hydrographic Office, and this is again sort of looking to unlock innovation in autonomy. So as you can see a little bit already, there's quite a theme towards autonomy here, at least currently in the maritime sector. Next slide, please, Mark. Oh, it's me, isn't it? I'm asking you to do something when it's up to me. So I'll just carry on. These are funding opportunities that probably don't say maritime sector on the tin, but if you perhaps delve into a little bit more detail, you're able to see that maritime and marine companies are eligible to apply. So the first one is an SBRI, which is using geospatial data to solve transport challenges. There's actually a webinar briefing for this taking place tomorrow, which is hosted by the KTN. So I encourage you to check that out on the KTN website. But this is looking at sort of 4 key themes: the idea of mobility as a service, active travel, supply chains and increasing capacity, and this is using satellite data to let's say enhance transport activities, and that is across all modes of transport, so marine and maritime is very much included. The next one is the Faraday Battery Challenge. So I mentioned before, electrification is quite a hot topic at the moment in the marine and maritime sector. So this call topic is looking for cost reduction techniques, increasing energy and power density of batteries, sort of the safety, temperature control, and increasing the lifetime and recyclability of current batteries. In previous Faraday Battery Challenges, the marine and maritime sector were excluded. However, if you look at the footnotes of this particular funding call, they are very much included. So that's another great opportunity there for anyone looking at electric drivetrains. Finally, on this page, we've got the manufacturing made smarter. So this may be not directly applicable, but if you wanted to perhaps theme your application a little bit more towards the supply chain side of things, so looking at increasing the use of digital technologies. So for example, if you were making a vessel, perhaps rather than focusing on the vessel itself, you could focus a little bit on how it's made. And obviously they're looking for made smarter. It also ties hand in hand with increasing sort of sustainability, reduction of waste, this concept of circular economy for the supply chains around manufacturing. And I won't ask Mark to turn the slide for me this time. So sort of generic funding pots that are applicable to anyone, and they're often open year round. So the first one is the Innovate UK Smart Grants, and for the past 4 or 5 years, this has been the best opportunity really for marine and maritime companies, because there's been nothing specific towards them outside of the excellent Mari UK calls that have been in effect sort of for the last year. The smart grants are a really open scope funding call, and anyone can bid into them, but obviously because they're so open, they're highly competitive, but it's a little bit of a give and take, and if it's an opportunity, you've got to grasp it, but you have to realize when you're going in for this particular funding call that your chances of success are perhaps low unless you've got the absolute best application possible. But that's, I'm not trying to discourage you from not applying, but just to give you a sense of realism there. Finally, knowledge transfer partnerships. These are run by the KTN and hosted by the KTN. They're a 3-way partnership between academia, a business, and then an associate or a KTA. So the real sort of great thing about KTPs or knowledge transfer partnerships is it allows you as a business to embed expert knowledge from academia into your company. So if you are a company and you have an idea or a particular innovation that you want to deploy, but you don't have the people in-house to do that, and you maybe with a local university, they do have that, you can take a recent graduate or PhD student and then bring them into your company and sort of transferring the knowledge across in that manner. And it's a really effective way, and these can be for any scope and a very broad sort of topic area that you can have a KTP in. And last but not least is the Transport Technology Research Innovation Grants, which is a bit of a mouthful, or the TTRIGs. They currently, this is hosted by I think the Connected Places Catapult, but the funding is provided by DFT. So at the moment, I think the application process closes sort of mid to late October, but there are 3 sort of topic areas that you can apply into. There's an open call, which I imagine again will be very competitive with it being an open in nature. Decarbonisation as a theme once again, which again, I think all of these will be quite competitive. And then finally, sort of COVID-19. So if your business has been affected by COVID-19 or you have some innovation challenges within transport related to COVID-19, your proposal would fit nicely into that area. And an example of that might be, let's say, disinfecting a train carriage or something between journeys, just to give you an idea of sort of scope for that one. So now we're going to move on to, as Mark mentioned before, the Innovation Exchange that KTN host. So first of all, what is Innovation Exchange, or IX? So it is a program designed to introduce companies, normally large organizations that have particular technical challenges, to innovators that are working on solutions that they may or may not have heard of before. So typically, across the KTN, we encourage lots of people from lots of different sectors to apply into these innovation exchange programs, because quite often the solution will come outside of this large organization's original network. And the KTN being such a cross-sectoral organization, we really have the power to drive innovators and solution providers to help these large organizations address their current technical challenges. So how does it work in process? So it's quite a relatively simple process. It's like a mini sort of tender or application process, if you like. So it starts off with a little consultation workshop between the KTN and the challenge holder. We then run a little mini competition with some formal assessment. The successful applicants are then invited to pitch in front of the large organization, and then a collaboration will perhaps form, the technology will develop, and then we ultimately give them feedback at the end. So who is the innovation challenge aimed at? So it's mainly aimed at large organizations. So we've got OEMs and utility companies there. They can launch these challenges either confidentially, or we can disclose their details. Maybe they don't have anyone currently within their network who can help provide them a solution to their challenge, or maybe they just want to do it a bit quicker without having to go through tedious procurement cycles. And normally we're focusing on very technical solutions. So sometimes they find it quite hard to find the right person within an organization, or it's not clear what the value proposition is, or they just simply don't have the time, which is quite a common theme here. And we're sort of targeting those people that they wouldn't normally talk to in order to provide a solution to the sort of challenges that they define. So just to give you a little bit of an overview of the impact and the numbers behind the Innovation Exchange. So as of the end of sort of September, we successfully launched 55 challenges, have over 500 applicants, sort of almost close to 1,000 entries via the website. That led into sort of 240 organizations that were successful and high scoring in the application process and invited to pitch through the large organizations. And then at the end of it, almost £2 million of commercial contracts were placed, and we've got 75 trials, that's probably more now, underway. So a recent example that was during sort of COVID-19 and highlighting the need for sort of rapid procurement was the G+ and Workbook Association. They came to us and they really needed rapid deployment of additional safety measures on their working boats to increase the capacity, but whilst also adhering to social distancing and also maintaining the comfort for the people who are obviously going on the workboats, because they're quite often travelling from port to offshore wind locations, and it's quite a journey, so they need to make sure the welfare of their workers were upheld during that time. So we ran the IX process and 5 solutions were selected to proceed. One of them was a particle filtration device to help remove sort of contaminants from the air, a portable disinfectant booth, a health monitoring app, air filtration and ventilation system, and UV light system to sort of kill the viruses and pathogens. And this was all done within a few months, really, 2 to 3 months. So it's really highlighting the rapid sort of cycle of the IX program. So a couple of sort of latest opportunities that we have live on our website right now, and I encourage you to have a look at them afterwards, because ultimately KTN's job is to reach out to a variety of different organizations who may have a solution to this challenge that are out there, and they just may not know it. So go and have a little look. But this is from the British Antarctic Survey, and they are trying to decarbonize their missions to the Antarctic Circle at the moment, and that's looking at the sort of their energy and fuel usage in their buildings and vehicles that they take on these missions. So if you have an interest, or maybe you have an idea that can help tackle one of these problems, why not give it a little apply online? The application process is really simple. It's designed to be able to be completed in your lunchtime, so either 30 minutes to an hour. It's not as complicated as maybe an Innovate grant where you've got 10 questions and there's 400 words per question. It is really, really simple. So why not just give it a shot? And just keep checking back every now and again, because as Mark said, we have a lot of these challenges and they're released fairly frequently. So that concludes me and my presentation. Thank you very much to everyone for attending, and we're now going to take some questions, I believe.
Thank you both, Matthew and Mark, for that. Yes, it's now question time. If you've got any questions, if you could please click on the little question mark box on the right hand corner of your screen and type your questions in there. I'll give it a couple of minutes for you to think of any questions and write them in there. Whilst you are doing that, I would just like to bring to your attention that the Marine Business Technology Centre is currently running an Innovation Consultancy Grant Fund. The Innovation Consultancy Grant Fund is an ERDF funded programme that supports high-tech, Devon-based advanced marine businesses accelerate their innovation projects. The grants are available to provide financial assistance to SMEs that access professional expertise needed to develop their innovation projects. The deadline for this is the 30th of October, and the application process is very short, very easy. So if you're interested in finding out more about that, have a look at the Marine Business Technology Centre website. Okay, I'll just give it a couple more minutes for any questions to come through, because there is just a slight time delay between us and the delegates watching.
Chelsea, while that's just coming through, I'll just also add, in terms of the Innovation Exchange Programme, one of our class owned that Innovation Exchange Programme since 2017. Repeated BAE Systems, which is a huge, obviously, marine-facing and defence-facing organisation. They have signed up for a further 15 challenges in this year, and so we have a high pipeline of those which will be coming out shortly. We're not allowed to say exactly what they are at this moment in time, but certainly decarbonising and autonomy will certainly feature in those, along with system control. Those sort of topics will feature in there, but yes, they will be coming out shortly. We've been hosting the workshops with them, and those are ongoing at this moment in time, so we would expect those to come out in the next month or so and become live.
Okay, brilliant. I'll just give it 2 more minutes to see if any questions come through.
And of course, if not, then of course Matthew and I are more than happy to field questions. If there are any outside, we're certainly welcome any sort of emails or contact. That'd be great. We'd be delighted to hear from you. Obviously, at this moment in time, we're not able to meet face to face, so our guidance is at the moment is looking like it's probably going to be March before we're allowed to go out and venture and meet up with people. But yes, after that date, if all things go well, then obviously we'd be more happy to meet and discuss face to face as well.
Okay, thanks, Mark. It's now 11:45 when the webinar was due to end. No questions have come through, so I will close the webinar now. Big thank you to both Matthew and Mark for taking part today. And if you do have any questions regarding today or any future webinars, please feel free to get into contact. Anything further?
Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you, Chelsea.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Chelsea, and I look forward to hearing from some of the attendees via email with their amazing, innovative ideas in the maritime sector.
Great, thank you both, and thanks everyone.
Bye, everybody. Bye for now.
Bye.